there, welcome to today's Get Ready With Me video as I chit chat and share with you all about my most recent discoveries about being a very highly spiritual person that's really focused on the upper chakras of their life, in their mind, the thoughts, visions, and feeling space towards being in a more grounded, rooted, community, centralized, socializing human being that is expressing and creating in this 3D world. If you're new here, welcome. It's nice to have you. My name is Veruca Cyn and I'm a fashion designer and mystic. I create a lot of magical clothing as well as provide a lot of insight and clarity for the intentions of empowering you. So if you're interested in this look, continue watching. Where do I begin? Talking about I think I should close the window because I feel like people's outside. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I didn't fully close it, but I semi-closed it. Okay, so as I was saying, I have been a very spiritual person all my life and always daydreaming in my thoughts, conceptualizing, theorizing, and even realizing recently I'm a perfectionist to the core, to the point where it's almost very stifling and keeps me even from creating and getting out of my head. And I recently had a client, thank you very much, you know who you are. They came to me for a personal reading and I realized that a lot of the experiences as a spiritual life coach that I've obtained from doing the inner work, like I'm like a crazy shadow worker professional. Like I do so much and it's something I naturally gravitate towards, and I have a very deep, passionate need to understand why things fall into place the way they do and what drives our behavior and our motives and the subconscious and conscious underlying desires and need to survive, or even to take whatever action that took place, like do whatever it is that we did in the first place. Like, why is it justified or not justified? Like, why did we even behave that way or treat others the way we did or treat ourselves the way we did? And hopefully come away with a deeper understanding and knowing ourselves better, and not necessarily going in with intention to remove it, but to integrate it and to understand it, and most importantly accept it. And so I've realized after the past 6-7 years now of being a reader and life coach that I have mastered the inner work, and it's time. I have come across a milestone where it's time to integrate all that I know from within without to the external world around me. And it's a really exciting time for me because I have been theorizing and thinking and resoluting and understanding for so many years, especially during the pandemic and COVID. I had no choice but to go within because obviously there was a pandemic, so I'm not going to go out. I had a lot of time to reflect and try to understand deeper about things that were holding me back in life, or why I made the choices I did. And as I was providing insight and channeling messages and examples for this client of mine to understand how they can go about developing their spirituality and a deeper relationship with themselves, and to be a better friend to themselves, in turn, in trade, what actually ended up happening was I ended up gaining a piece of the missing puzzle to understanding what it means to be integrating yourself into the 3D world and being someone who's a metaphorical or a symbolical wallflower of just always talking about the unseen, working on the unseen. And what do I mean by that? Like unseen as in things like things you can't immediately grasp, but you're always feeling, or you're fully aware of, or you're always consciously thinking about it in the middle of the night when you can't sleep and something's keeping you up and there's this underlying layer of anxiety. These are the things that really sit and reside within the depths of our hearts, and we don't know how to handle it or deal with it or even understand it. And that's where I come in, and I am really good at that. I'm really good at understanding the unseen. I communicate with the unseen. I communicate with the other side. I speak with spirits and deities and guides and ancestors. So I am so familiar with everything conceptual that has not been yet, that has at one point already manifested into the 3D world and now has crossed over, or has yet to manifest into the 3D world and is existing in a conceptual space. And the way I work is that I'm like an energy alchemist, and I understand the emotions and the thought patterns and the thought frames of how someone feels, or how an accumulation of a series of events and experiences and incidents and traumas in their lives that has taken place to mold and form the relationship and the way they feel and see themselves within. Not external, but within, like how they feel about themselves, and showing them exactly that, and being like the human translator of energy and saying, this is what's been on your mind. You've been bothered by this, this, and this, and these sort of things have been accumulating and it's creating a pattern. That's why you're behaving this way, because our emotions affect the way we think. Well, usually too, in the 3D world, an event happens to us, an incident occurs, a situationship happens, and it leaves a certain impression within us, and it causes us to feel a certain way, pleasant or not pleasant. We have a certain emotion tied to that now, and these emotions are what literally starts influencing the way we think about the certain situation, and we create a dialogue of how we go approaching with these situations and how we can handle it moving forward. And we label it and compartmentalize it into a good aspect in our life or a bad aspect, something to avoid or something to continue venturing down on, because it either makes us feel good or not feel good, or it serves as like, feels like a threat or something that serves for us to grow in life, right? Or is helping us in life. And sometimes all of those can be blurred in between, and we don't have a clear discernment of being able to see when something can be a blessing in disguise or a lesson in disguise, or a pain or trauma we experience is actually hiding the answer within that is what would be possible for us to unlock the answers that we need to move forward in life. So I'm really good at that, and other people, they're really good at understanding the tangible, and it's like weird because I understand a lot about how we feel inside and why it's causing us to feel that way. But when it comes to being out there and integrating, it's almost like I feel like an alien. Like I feel a lot and I see a lot, and it's kind of awkward for me because I don't exactly know how to tango with the rest of the crowd, because I feel like such an oddball with the way I work. I work inwardly, whilst everyone else works outwardly. Like they prioritize appearances, they prioritize about status or reputation, networking with the right people to be seen and perceived a certain way. And there's this great emphasis on the illusion of the 3D world and how it fabricates and creates the reality of who we are in this lifetime. And ironically, this is the most tangible thing there is right now in our current existence. Yet I feel like it's the most hardest thing to grasp, and it's the most foreign thing for me to grasp. And I feel like I'm somewhat of like a puppet, or I have this simulated avatar. Now I have to look the part in order for people to understand or believe me or take me seriously. Like, for example, if I were to be a fashion designer stylist, I would have to look like a fashion designer stylist. If I happen to be wearing sweats and putting on sunglasses for whatever reason, like not sunglasses, regular glasses, no makeup, my hair's in a messy bun, it would be probably very hard for a large half of you guys to believe that I'm actually a fashion designer who is like a wardrobe stylist as well. And for the longest time, I actually had the biggest resentment towards the physical world because I felt like I didn't and I shouldn't have to change or have anything to show of myself or prove of myself to be taken seriously or to be seen for the value and worth of who it is I am. And it wasn't until only recently that I learned through my own ignorance that not everyone perceives and understands the world the way that I do. Because ultimately, in the end, I still am stuck in my own body with my own senses and my own experiences. And so I'm still very much, to a large extent, limited to what I can share unless that knowledge expands or the understanding expands. I recently realized some people only their inner dialogue and their inner way of seeing is only through visual. Like if you were to give them like number 5, they will picture in their mind's eye a dice with 5 dots on it. That's how they will understand things. They just purely visions, imagery. Whereas other people, they can't see images at all. They don't think that way. They think more logically. Maybe they think in numbers. Or some people, they think, I don't know, they think through sound and thought, like they can hear themselves thinking, but they can't see, or you know what I mean? Like there's different forms of processing ideations and information and even perceiving the world. And so when I realized that I was actually missing a large part of the puzzle, ironically, of what it means to understand the rest of the world, there really was no reason for me to resent not being understood or seen for who I am, because I shouldn't have to change or prove myself to show more credibility of, yeah, like I look the part. I'm not just a designer, I also look it, you know. And now I understand it's not because people don't necessarily want to understand me, is that they simply can't understand me because they don't think the same way as me, and they don't perceive and process the world and the reality and the information like me. And that is the most beautiful realization, because not only did that add to my deeper understanding of what it really means to help coach someone, but it also really helped integrate a huge aspect of myself that for the longest time I was under this false pretense that the world couldn't receive me because they were stubborn and they refused to receive me the way I was wanting to be seen. And maybe perhaps a little bit of media is to blame. I don't know, maybe it is common, because when you think about like rom-coms and like makeover movies from the 90s and even until now, it's always about, oh, why can't like I just be this way and people just see me for my worth? But nowhere does it ever fucking say, yeah, okay, but it's not like people treat you less because they don't see your worth. It's because they can't see your worth because they don't think that way like you. They just see you in sweats, and they would never think, oh, you're a doctor and you can be capable of performing surgery, because you don't show a visual, physical, like model of who you are. And that is also the hidden beauty of what it means to be living in a 3D world, is that because we're in these 3D forms, in such solid existence and being in these vessels, we should celebrate and be in our body and do things to demonstrate and show outwardly to the world around us who we are, how we think, the visions and concepts and the ideations that we do have into an applied presentation, like a presentation or a project or a sculpture or a literature or, I don't know, a TED Talk, have you. Like, that's the beauty of being alive as a human being, is to celebrate being alive and to celebrate by utilizing all the physical materialisms and the objects, the objectifications of everything, not in a manipulative sense, but in a sense that would represent who we are truly inside, the way we perceive ourselves, and show to the world how we want to be seen, because we are creators. You have the power to show to people who you are going to become in the world, or who you already are in the world, especially if they have a hard time believing that, understanding that, or even perceiving that. There might be haters out there who feel like, oh yeah, like you maybe you're an imposter, you're not really that way, because they're projecting onto you their own traumas of limiting who your identity can evolve and become and progress into. Don't pay those people any mind, but in time you can be able to discern between the illusions of how people want you to be, how you think you should be without having to be it, because you want people to just see you that way. Instead of meeting halfway, you want people to come to you, because I don't know where that self-entitlement came from. Maybe it doesn't feel like self-entitlement, because if I were to ask why was I so self-entitled to expect people to just understand me that way, I think it's because I provide, in my own personal experiences, what I believe I do is I'm reciprocating through connections and providing values in ways that cannot be seen. And I see so much value in the unseen that I wish people could see it the way I see it. And through this process and blind passion of pursuing this purpose in my life, I failed to realize not everyone can process and understand and conceptualize the unseen the way I can, which is why I am who I am and they are who they are. It doesn't make them better, or I'm worse, or doesn't make me better and that they're worse than me. It just makes us different. And because there are differences, there's polarization and duality, for a stark contrast for us to be able to understand one another. There is a clear difference between night and day, yes and no, and seen and unseen, tangible and unconceptual. And to be able to realize that and discern that and to celebrate that and highlight it. How can someone who is so much, very much into the unseen, transmute this energy and interpret it in a way that's physical, so people can understand it in a practical way and they can apply it into their lives and see the importance of how processing things that are unseen, like our emotions and our thoughts and our underlying foundational blueprint of our beliefs and the way we perceive the world, can be altered and uprooted and deconstructed and reformed in a way that's so much more lasting and sustainable and healthier for us. Right? So it's amazing. I think it's awesome that throughout this whole journey so far of me pursuing spirituality and providing insight and clarity and readings for all of you who have come to me for private sessions, that I never ever once walk away without learning something new. And it's always a perfect exchange, like not just of obviously of the price that I have set. That is the price I believe I am worth, and I will be adding on, changing as I continue to grow. But even on an intellectual level, like every person I've crossed paths with had something to teach me that I can take with me on my path of life. And that little gift that they have given to me as I pass on knowledge for them through their ancestors and my own experiences and spirit guides, they leave with me with a little bit of knowledge too from their guides as well as their own personal life experience. And I take this little nugget and I hold on to it and I integrate it into myself. And the next person that comes in magically just happens to need what it is I just obtained, whether it be the wisdom and the insight or the clarity that I've gained through the reading from a previous client, or even from integrating the experience and then going out and applying in the world and obtaining a new realization. And that realization is exactly what my next customer or next client needs. And I think it's an amazing journey I'm on, and I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really happy to be at this point in my life. It's now April 2023. I am 36 years old now, and I feel like really excited about life and stepping into the 3D of integrating myself into society the way that I perceive myself. And now, instead of thinking, oh, I had to go and play like the role of like puppet on strings for people to be able to see and understand who I really am, now I know it's No, it's now I'm actually giving a fair chance and opportunity for the rest of the world who don't think the way I do and perceive reality differently from me to be able to understand and maybe even conceptualize for the first time and integrate who I am, take in who I am as a person. Oh, that's how you dress like, and that's how you see yourself, and oh, you're a designer, a fashion designer and a spiritual life coach who creates a lot of magical things and share insight and clarity about the reality we're in. Oh, I never understood what that meant. That seems so abstract and intangible to me. But now that you're presenting yourself in such a literal way, I can see how it's applied. And it's not because they didn't want to understand me, it's because they couldn't, you know? And that is so exhilarating. And I'm just glad to be able to have realized that, and I certainly hope that one of you guys out there listening to me ramble on about my realizations about what it means to be living on earth as a human being and being in our body, in our vessels, in a 3D, in the root chakra, the lower halves of the 3 chakras, the root, the sacral, and the solar plex, right? To be in our physical existence, to be integrated into our community, to express and create and to share our desires in the world, and do it with willpower and perseverance and confidence and shine brightly of who we are and how we perceive our identities. That's amazing. I think it's such a beautiful thing to be alive, and instead of seeing it as, oh, it's materialistic and shallow. In so many senses of the word, it's deep as well. Maybe perhaps the rest of society has got it reversed. They have been misusing the 3D physical reality to perceive shallow, meaningless things. When in actuality, the things that manifest before us and is existing physically in the 3D world in front of us can be used like a tool, like the crayons and the markers in our coloring boxes to represent and symbolize all the depth and the value and the worth of all the unseen and all the intangible in the world. I am excited to see what I discover and explore with this realization of meeting one half, which is I was in a very yin energy state, emotions and thought, conceptualization, idea, and transferring into now to the yang state where I'm into action, creation, like pushing my way, giving birth of ideas into the physical reality, and even presenting myself physically in a light that I've always perceived myself, and for whatever reason I was conflicted about deciding. I think that's what it is. My style always changed and fluctuated because I felt like I hated being pigeonholed and stereotyped and like pinned down to one particular look or identity, because I do see myself as a multifaceted person. I still am. But I realize now that's the definition of how society usually perceives people. And I can redefine that in my own way, in the sense that I can celebrate my 3D physical form and represent myself the way I choose to see myself, and not be afraid that I would be pigeonholed to be seen this way. Because I can't control how other people perceive me, or will perceive me far after now. But what I can do is know that every moment, at any moment that I'm choosing to represent myself in the physical world around me, I'm doing it from the truth and depth of my heart and who I am and who I perceive myself to be in this very moment. And I can unabashedly, unlimitedly, without any withholding, be that person fully, without thinking, oh, now someone's going to just coin me as that person and typecast me as that individual. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I can just let myself live and be. And if I ever change my mind and decide to be another way later on, I can, because I'm a human being and I came here to experience the 3D world and to be alive and this chaos of reality. Yeah, so I certainly hope you enjoyed my rambling this time. Mostly it was all about root and my understanding about what it means to be human And I think a large reason why I'm so obsessed with understanding what it means to be human is because maybe my soul isn't human, I'm probably an alien. And I'm trying to master and understand the psychology of what it means to be human. Why things are not appropriate or inappropriate, or why I should be doing certain things in a timely manner in a certain season of my life versus not. And that, I think that's what has led me to become such an individual who has mastered, I'm very confident to say I've mastered a huge portion of what it means to understand the unseen. So I hope you join me along my journey moving forward now of being in the physical and living out my 3D egoic life in this vessel of sin. And yeah, I want to talk more about fashion and styling. I know many of you guys are really interested in it, and for a long time I was afraid that it would be boring or that it would gravitate my existing audience away from me. But heck, I already did that with confessing that I'm like a supporter of marijuana. So why not go into stepping into the ownership of, yeah, I am a clothing designer and I want to create fashion, and it's a part of my identity and part of my truth. And I do see value in spirituality and spiritual worth in my creations. Now I should boldly step forward and show that to the rest of the world. I love you. I love you guys. Thank you so much for following me up until this point and for coming to me for your personal life coach sessions. And yeah, if you're curious about my clothing designs and what I have so far in my shop, it's in the description box down below at www.verucacyn.com. You can see my tarot readings as well. I'm working on some new things and I've been vlogging my fashion design progress. I haven't forgotten. I know one of you guys, one of my Cynners here, had requested for a fashion creative progress video and sharing how I create my things. And I sat down for I think maybe half a year thinking oh my god, how am I gonna go and tell this story? I've never done it before, and I got into my perfectionist tendencies, but I finally figured it out, and it's in the works now. I'm really happy to say that. So I hope you look forward to seeing that in the near future, soon. I don't know when, not promising, but soon. So this is the final look. I hope you like it. I think the changes I would make moving forward is probably different lashes. I feel like these lashes are a little bit over the top. They're nice. They make the look and it looks good in video, but I think for everyday style, I feel like it might be a little too much for me. I would like to have more subtle lashes, fanned out cat lashes. And yeah, my hair's faded completely. I don't know what I want to do with it next. I don't know. At this point it's just yellow because I bleached it that way. So maybe I could just tone it and keep it black and white. We'll see. This is my new go-to makeup look, or this sort of aesthetic is going to be my new go-to look. And I hope you enjoyed the Get Ready With Me chit chat video. Be sure to subscribe, follow me, give me a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment down below what realizations you have obtained when it comes to, if you relate with me or you're in the complete opposite, like my client who went from being in the physical body and reintegrating to learn more about the inner self. I look forward to hearing from you. If you're interested in more Get Ready With Me videos where I chit chat and share my experiences in life and even my realizations of what it means to be a spiritual life coach, right here. Check it out. Until then, I love you and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.